Evening, everyone. This is the regular monthly meeting here for February 2024. The Smithfield Township Planning Commission. All that?
Yeah.
A full house. All right. Yeah, we have all members are present. Holiday. Hello. This is your first official one of taking the minute down.
Yes.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine. All right. Our first order is to take a look. We have two sets of minutes. We'll kind of send them around earlier in the week.
Yes.
December, the minutes of our December 14th meeting and the minutes of our January 11th meeting. Everybody get a chance to take a look at them? The engineer in here. Yeah. We'll do one at a time here for the December one. I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of the December 14th, 2023 meeting. Seconded by Doug Schreiber. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? And now we will move on to the minutes of January 11th, 2024.
I was not here.
Yeah, you were here for this one.
Yeah.
For the January one.
Take a look, we got 9 listed here.
You looked into the January?
Yeah.
Trying to see where I can. Oh, yeah, that's right, we have to make that change. Look at that change. Up there in the call to order, Chris Powers was not here.
Take a motion, we accept the minutes with that correction.
I'll second that. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? All right, they're approved with that joint change. Thank you for catching that, please. All right, a couple of things. We have a couple of things this evening. Let's start with the Franklin Hill matter. All right, so we got a request to put this on March from Franklin Hill, from the Franklin Hill Manor people. Is that right, Julia?
Yes, I received that email and forwarded it to you.
He sent it to me earlier this morning, right?
He did send it yesterday. I didn't see it until this morning.
That's okay.
So I apologize for the short notice on that one. But they do have an active extension until March 29th of 2024. So we are well within that.
So well within that. Okay, so we can move that to March. Before I make a motion to table it, I presume, John, they've been dealing with your comments is what I think it was.
That's what they said. They said they still have a couple more comments to address. So you haven't seen anything new.
If you haven't seen anything, no. Okay. All right, then I make a motion that we table the land development plan for Franklin Hill Manor to our March regular meeting.
Second.
Seconded by Dave Strong. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor? All right. We're getting close.
Technically, they still have a few weeks left.
Yeah, really. All right.
We've been going since 2005.
Which one do we want to do next? Because we only have two other things on the agenda. Yeah, like I said, the Environmental Advisory Council, that's probably the one that we can deal with easiest. So what is that?
Sure, Mr. Chairman, I could feel like that. Yeah, the Environmental Advisory Council was established via ordinance some years ago. It's currently inactive. The Board of Supervisors is seeking letters of support. You may have noticed in the ordinance that one of the 7 members must be a member of the Planning Commission, which is what is on your agenda today.
All right.
You can read it. Can you paraphrase what the purpose of it is?
Yeah, certainly. If you look at 28.6 powers of council, there's 28.6B on the 3rd page. There's 6 essential powers of the council, and that's think of it as an advisory committee parallel to the planning commission with a more laser focus on environmental and conservation and matters of open space matters. more clearly defined by those 6 items.
Alex, do you mind reading 6 items? Are they long?
I could, if it's.
Yeah, please.
Commission. Okay.
Go ahead, absolutely.
Sure. The Environmental Advisory Council shall have the following powers and duties. 1, to identify environmental problems and recommend plans and programs. The Board of Supervisors for promotion and conservation of natural resources and for the protection and improvement of the quality of the environment within the township. 2, to make recommendations as to the possible use of open land areas within the township. 3, to promote community environmental program. 4, to keep an index of all open space and environmentally sensitive areas, publicly or privately owned, including but not limited to flood-prone areas, swamps, other such unique natural areas for the purpose of obtaining information on the proper use of such areas. 5, to advise the Board of Supervisors and other agencies as to the acquisition of property, both real and personal, and rights thereto by gift, purchase, grant, bequest, easement, advice, or lease in matters consistent with the purpose of the council. And then 6 is to perform any other duties assigned to it by the Board of Supervisors, but not to exercise any powers or perform any duties by law that are conferred or imposed upon a state agency.
So it's an advisory panel, so how are you envisioning this working? Is it quarterly meeting, monthly, what? Because it's not something like the planning commission where we know things have to come in front of us, statutorily, with plans and board interviews and so forth. How are you envisioning it working?
The board would essentially have regularly scheduled meetings once a month at a time that's, satisfactory to them. There'd be minutes, public comments, very similar to this forum here.
And the commissioners are looking, or the supervisor are looking for letters of interest from the community to serve on this council.
And the planning commission specifically. So
Yeah.
so someone here will have to serve on the planning commission in order for it to function as per this ordinance. And so we're not asking, the board isn't asking for any commitment this evening, we're just here to make the announcement. So that folks here can think about it and maybe decide, it could be more than one of you. But it has to be minimum.
How big is the panel?
That's 7 members. One of the members is a board of supervisor, one of the members is a planning, and then there's 5 other members of the residency of the township.
You're sort of at-large member from the citizenry.
Correct.
Given your new position, what's your interface with this board?
That's a good question. Right now, the board has asked me to help put it together, and then there will be follow-up discussions where they will more clearly define.
It seems like it's all right into your kind of scope of your job, doesn't it?
It does, it seemed that way for sure, but ultimately it's up to the supervisor.
Understood, but I thought that was one.
So what are you looking for, or what are the supervisors looking for letters of interest in the next month?
By the end of February.
How's it advertised to the public?
That's a good question. So it was on their agenda last night and they mentioned it during the announcements and it's also on the front page of the website and banner. And if you click on that, there will be a link to download this ordinance, so you can review all this, and there's also, some other information on there.
Does the township have any kind of email blast for newsletters?
Yes, we're putting it in our newsletter as well.
And does that go out to citizens?
Yes,
They have to sign up for it though?
they do. Otherwise, there's no way to get there.
Does the township ever consider sending the mailers to all the people within the town so they know that's available?
We have considered doing that, and it's something we can do, but in order to send out a mailer, we're looking at thousands of dollars in postage. So it is a balance between how often you want to send mailers out versus how many people will reach.
Yeah, I just don't think the average person's on the website to see this, unless they're truly interested. People kind of get caught up in their life and they don't even think about it, they knew it, maybe. There's no good way to reach people anymore, because people don't read the book on record anymore.
That's true, there really is.
It's not a local paper.
We don't have a local media, really, the reality is, you know.
There's so many competing websites and social media that it just doesn't seem to work. To grab everybody in one location.
Maybe one time last, we get an email that you didn't have that you could then use to create a list, just to send out all the time. For anything, so you don't have to do more than one, just maybe a bunch of people who would respond and be able to send their email, which would be great.
You still need to let people room share.
Yeah, yeah.
What if you were to dovetail this with advertising from local merchants in Smithfield Township? Where you send out a mailing for all of them, like say you get 5 people that have businesses within Smithfield Township. And you do an advertising, and in that is townships notice about a newsletter, but you also got, you know, Hank's Garage and selling sewing books or something. You have them help sponsor.
You need to be careful with that sort of thing because the township is not allowed to promote any private business. And so as you promote those sorts of matters.
What about public service announcements on the radio?
I will reach out to the board and let them know that, you know, there are other ways and that, hey, we'll try this.
Let me get just 2 quick comments for what it's worth is that Middle Smithfield does flyers all the time with advertisers, local businesses. They do that all the time. I think they do quarterly newsletters. Second thing is, I don't know, I find it's very helpful to post notices in the post office. Everyone goes to the post office. So if you do the post offices, just a flyer in the local post offices, maybe even embed a QR code that would take them to the information, or I don't know, but just a thought.
The QR code, because that's easy, then people can go, oh.
Yeah,
I think,
that's a phone.
yeah, there you go. Well, that's a really good idea.
Why don't you check with Middle Smithfield and see how they get away with that advertising? Or sponsored by, or.
I don't think they say that, but they have like the list of businesses in the back, so I'm sure they're buying advertising.
Yeah.
All right, so think about it, commissioners. One of the members of the panel has to be from this august group here, so. All right. Alex, anything, if they were let us angry, are they to go to you, or they go to directly to the supervisors?
Mr. Chairman, if you can email them to me directly, or any here, email them to me directly.
You know, Scott,
Scott.
all right.
Okay. Martha, were you on the EAC
At one point,
with me?
yep, Mary Ellen, Dave Rinberg ran it for years. I can't remember.
Dave
who else was on
Remember,
it.
yeah. He was,
The chair.
chair.
Yeah.
But, well, anyway, I'm not gonna, bad mouth anybody, but I thought that it was sadly ineffectual.
I feel like we didn't get enough guidance maybe, and I don't believe there was supervisor involvement at that time. There was no supervisor that came.
Well, we did manage to go to court against, HYK.
I don't remember that, but maybe, yeah.
The Smithfield Township, the EAC was one of the, if not the, plaintiff in that case. When it wound up in court. Maybe not the plaintiff, the defendant, I can't remember which. But by then, I think I was on the plaintiff.
Okay. All right, well. We shall see, it's gonna have to be one of us, so. Now, let's move on to 5B. If not, there's any more discussion, I'm sorry. You good? Okay, 5B. Lighting concerns in Smithfield Township. All right, where do we start?
I have a question.
Yeah.
We were creating, I don't know if it's finished or not, the noise ordinance, and the reason that was being done so that you had a specific document that you could go into an existing installation that wasn't needing a new ordinance, and you could
Seems like it's another nuisance ordinance.
Right, but my question is, what's different about that than if it's in the ordinances for land development? Where you have certain criteria, like parking spaces have to be so wide and so many landscaping buffers. Where's the line in the sand where it only applies to new development versus you can go back retroactively and tell somebody, hey, you're not meeting the ordinance that we just passed yesterday?
I guess if they violated what the Saldo agreement was about their lighting, you could go back.
But is that, that's my question. If they never came in for land development, because it's been a business, been there for 50 years, and now all of a sudden they throw up a floodlight or whatever.
Wouldn't it be just easier to pass a nuisance amendment saying that you couldn't have the lighting of
Well, that's what I'm trying to understand, is when is it an ordinance that only applies for new development versus
Is it grandfathered in? Right.
versus what we did for the noise where it applies to any business at any time? And it's retroactive to an existing business.
I wish I could answer that.
We have a lawyer in the house?
I think that if it's a zoning or subdivision change, it's gonna be considered pre-existing non-conforming. If it's a standalone ordinance, it may not be, standalone ordinance may be able to be enforced.
Well, that's what we did with the noise.
Now, I'm not saying that someone would not attack that, but certainly a zoning change or a subdivision change, you're gonna get the pre-existing non-conforming use. And I think that would apply. Standalone, we might be able to get by with a standalone.
Say that again, I didn't understand.
If you have a zoning ordinance change, and so,
What do you mean by zoning ordinance change? Does that mean like
in other words, if you're gonna make this lighting standard part of the zoning ordinance, and you wanna now enforce it, someone else who has been not having to deal with that is gonna say they can grandfather.
Okay, that's what, yeah, okay.
If you have a standalone ordinance, which is just an ordinance we're gonna adopt, and this is how the lighting is gonna be moving forward, you may have a better argument that it's not pre-existing, because it's a standalone, it doesn't deal with zoning as such,
Which
etc.
is what we did for the noise, correct?
Exactly.
So that's my question. So should we be looking at this as part of the land development and also as a standalone ordinance so that we can go back and tag the businesses that are not
I
compliant?
don't know about the land ordinance part of it, but as far as, let's say, putting under the nuisance or safety chapter or something like that, and making it a standalone ordinance, the benefit is we can go out there and enforce it. With a zoning ordinance, we have to cite somebody, allow them 30 days to apply to the zoning hearing board. And I don't know if you've been following the what we're doing now, which is about motorcycles in Mountain Manor. But the citing by the zoning officer was September 18th. We didn't get to the zoning hearing board until I think January 29th. And that's only half of it. It's still going on. So it's like,
So is the noise ordinance in effect?
not quite yet.
Not yet, okay.
And can the noise ordinance be, since that's a standalone, could that be melded in with lighting? Could you do them both as a nuisance ordinance?
Well, it depends what we want from lighting. One of the reasons we need lighting, something on lighting with these LED lights is they blind people who are driving.
Yeah.
And,
But we have it within the zoning ordinance now. When they come in for land development, right? It's already in there.
Yes.
So my question is, we can polish that as long as we want, but it still doesn't apply to the car repair shop and the cigarette shop, because you can't go back and.
Well, the car repair shop originally, when they first got their permitting, David, they didn't get permits for those lights.
Yeah, but that business has been there so long, I don't know if they ever got a permit.
Well, let's say they didn't. Would they need that if the ordinance were modified, if the zoning ordinance were modified to limit lighting, intrusive lighting, would that count for them as well?
No, it already has that
Since they-
criteria in it, the existing current, it has that.
Yeah,
I'm just saying,
it's simpler though to say, it's a safety hazard. Okay, under chapter 10 safety, you can't use these lights anymore unless they're dimmable, and if they're dimmable, they have to be down to a certain level.
At a certain time of day or night.
Or face pointing them down.
Now, the cigarette place, they did come in for approval, and they gave us a lighting plan, and they are in violation of it. And nothing's been done since.
Right.
The second, the other side is the car repair shop, they have never been in front of us, not that I know.
Jersey's and supposed to be due process property that are on.
Well, that's the whole point. We can talk about the various laws and changes and things, but they have to be enforced.
Yeah.
And
Well, it's got to be more if they want.
There's a solution, don't drive at night.
Okay, well, let's expand this committee, then.
I've heard Dave say before, and other council or commission members, sorry, that the smoke shop has been in violation, so like, why isn't someone doing something to enforce?
Why isn't someone doing something to report? Is a rhetorical question.
Can't you just start with, you send in a letter saying you're in?
Well, he's not the zoning officer.
Well, I think the zoning officer, well, I can send a letter, but I think the zoning officer is the guy that's gotta say, you're in violation. Here's the enforcement notice, let's go.
I've spoken with the zoning officer after your request from the last meeting,
Now,
and we have been told that he is unwilling to enforce lighting requirements until he is trained in the use of a light meter. I reached out to PSAS about what training they offer.
Take care of that tomorrow at 2:00. I'll train.
It's my understanding there's actually like a certification process in order.
great.
Yeah, I'm.
Let's get them certified then.
I saw that in your email.
We're working on it. I've reached out to PSAS to find out if they're familiar with any
Yeah,
trainings in the
yeah.
area that they do for zoning officers.
Yeah,
And we're pursuing the same question with PSAS regarding noise.
noise too, right? He needs to be certified there as well. We know how to use the meter.
Yes.
As a point of information, I have talked to several of these people that have the lights. They claim they've turned them down, or it doesn't help any. They're just too bright.
There are, by the way, there's also, there are more than several residences that have extremely bright nighttime lights. They're also an annoyance.
Yeah, I've got a neighbor.
Why the neighbors across the street don't come in and complain, I have no idea.
I haven't noticed that as much as the commercial ones.
Yeah, well, right.
The commercial ones, those lights are bad. If they cost $150, it's a lot.
Because they're cheap.
The dimmable ones are $250. It's like, replace them, get rid of this stuff, the junk. And we need an ordinance to do that.
When I sent around, when I sent some comments, it was coming up that, I came at it from and so often, from a slightly different approach. Which, and my approach was really you have to. You can do a nuisance as standalone, that's one thing. If you're gonna do it in land development, that's also, that's another thing, but I think what we're all trying to say is the lights should, brightness, I'm gonna leave brightness aside just for a moment. All should be pointed down, all should be pointed inward from property line into building. If it is illuminating a sign, it should be from the top to down. All right, if basic international dark sky stuff,
Yeah,
okay? I would wholeheartedly say pick up the International Dark Sky Ordinance, darksky.org. Is their website. It's a very good one, but if you don't want to get into that much technical one, that's really what we're talking about. When you drive down the road, if the light is not pointing out from a building, you're not gonna get it like this in the same spike intensities where the fixtures are. That's how it is. So enforcement, train them on a light meter, whatever the case may be. I don't see why for basic police powers, health, safety, welfare, morals, all the stuff that traditionally you can regulate as a municipal entity. why you can't do the things that I was just saying. Down, property line in, signs pointed down. That I think is gonna probably knock out.
Without him even being trained, some of the ordinances that you have to have non-glare lights focused out.
It's not hard, right?
If the focus up or out, he doesn't need to be trained with a light meter to know that that's
Is
the
it pointed out?
violation of the ordinance.
It's pointing up, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I will do, Bob.
I mean, there's so much in here that you wouldn't have to be an expert to use a light meter.
Yeah, but just to piggyback on that, the
The
only
only
thing
thing Pocono beer, right, they have a company, so.
Yeah, right at the bottom of Parents Hill, yeah.
But if you're coming, north on 209, it's not as bothersome as you're coming south.
Oh, south,
Because you're going up the hill, and no matter how much they turn them down, you're gonna get it right in the face.
Yeah, but if they're on a pull out, I told them, I facing towards their physical building, it's not the end of the problem.
I still think it'd be easier just to say they have to be dimmable, they can't be more
the
than.
dimmable doesn't solve the problem.
No, it doesn't solve the problem.
Doesn't solve the problem, because if they turn it down to the point where it's not glare, then they're not even eliminating the surfaces. Dimmable doesn't help, you gotta have it pointing down or have it shielded so it.
Yeah.
Just to piggyback on what Scott said, I agree with everything he said. The only time he really needs to have training is when he's trying to prove compliance with the 0.5 foot candles at the property line. And that's a very easy thing to do. And I don't know why he needs to go to an all-day school to learn how to use a meter, but. Okay, another way to attack this is to, he can have a meter, I can show him how to use it in 3 minutes. He goes out and he does it. It says, and if anybody challenges it, then you can hire a certified lighting expert that can then do it.
Probably gonna need to do that anyway.
But I'm saying, at least it gets the ball rolling. And trying to get, right now, we're just sitting dead in the water because nobody wants to make a step forward. We've been talking about this for years.
Well, I think that we're still, sounds to me like we're still a little hung up on whether to produce a standalone ordinance.
Well, we haven't got there yet.
Or-
For the cigarette shop, we don't need to worry about that, because that's a violation of the original land.
Okay, no, I get you, but there's a lot more than just.
But it seems to me that the block in the road is the zoning officer wants a certificate on the wall before he does anything. Does that sound right? So how do we get around that? We either get him a certificate, or we say, we're not gonna worry about it until we're challenged, and then we'll get a certified person to come in and do it. At least we can get this stuff rolling.
Wrong question for you, if I may.
Yeah, sure.
The municipal planning code, doesn't have to be either or, right? You can put lighting standards in the zoning, you can put lighting standards in the saldo, and you can have a standalone lighting ordinance slash uses. There's no prohibition that once you put it in one place, you stop, right?
No, you can put it anywhere, the question.
You can put as many as you want anywhere.
Yeah, if you're gonna put it separate or a different one, we're gonna sort of be consistent with what we're saying, so that, of course.
Right, the wording has to be the same.
I don't see a reason why you can't put it in any of them, or all of them.
And then whatever the standards are, that's an appendix in all of them. In all of the chapters, the Saldo chapter says, see lighting standards in appendix A. The zoning says, see lighting standards potential free, and appendix A and so forth, right?
What you wanna do though, what you wanna do is avoid the, pre-existing, violation, pre-existing, right?
You do, but it's, to me, now, again, I'm looking at it as more of a prosecutor than a defense attorney.
Okay.
In that, you know, if you have light that's spilling over and causing a problem with traffic.
Right.
Light spilling over causing a problem with pedestrians. Light that is causing glare to neighbors, et cetera. Frankly, I don't care if you were pre-existing, that's a problem right now, I think you're in violation. I don't think you can say, well, I was killing people before, so I can still now do it. And I just don't think you can say that, but you have to have the ordinance in proper fashion. Now, is that a standalone, is that zoning? I think it's that little thought.
You use the standalone, exactly.
But if you make it a nuisance and say that, yeah, there's like, that's a nuisance.
Yes.
Doesn't matter whether it was there before or not, you now are in violation. Here you go, well, you got to have somebody who's willing to enforce the word.
Yeah.
Well, sounds like Ken is willing to enforce it once he gets the certificate.
That's what I'm hearing from you.
But I'm saying, let's try to meet in the middle and while we're working on that certificate. Who would talk to Ken about that?
I have no idea. I haven't heard back from Pete yet about classes availability or. Yes.
I'm retired, I no longer have that firm. My firm,
Congratulations.
well, I spent 4 years with you. My firm has professional engineers who they can operate a light meter. At any point that can need to have somebody with authority to swing a light meter, we can do it. And we're right down the street, so it's easy. So just tell him that you have somebody that would back him up once challenged. In the meantime, he doesn't need a light meter to violate or to cite violations of specifically the cigarette shop.
Yeah.
The automotive shop, I don't know where they are, they don't have a land development plan. But in that case, we need to get a lighting ordinance as a standalone so that he has teeth to knock on.
He did come to us, once, automotive. He wanted to have a business. Yeah, it was more, conditional use.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no. He never got any kind of approval. He's here for about, oh, he came when he left, he came when he left, he was here for about 2 years.
Yeah.
But he never got an approval.
That's correct. So there's a violation right there.
So what do we need to do to move this lighting ordinance forward into a standalone?
Okay. Go ahead, Mike. Well, I'm just saying that we received from, the doc here earlier at the start of the meeting here, we have the, ordinance 208 that has lighting provisions. We got to have looked at, okay, and that of course there are subdivision and land development standard design on the township toolbox that has lighting declared provisions.
Yeah.
You know, we look at those and we start to say, okay, what can we do? I would say you get that, also you have the PBA out, the ladies council does a model ordinance. And as Scott said, as the dark guy. There's a lot of different places you gotta start reading this stuff and saying, okay, this is what we want.
We could almost start with what we have now in the zoning ordinance and see if we need to modify that.
That could be.
And or copy it over into the standalone.
Alex, correct me if I'm wrong, or Alex or John, I don't think our lighting is in the zoning ordinance at all. It's all the.
Although it really is, I don't know. So that we'd have to move it over, because if you're not doing subdivision or land development, then those provisions won't apply.
So it still needs, so.
We still need this.
I would move over.
Remember his standalone, that, you
Well,
know,
because if you don't end up, that doesn't help. If you're not subdividing or if you're not land developing,
You're gonna come through it.
and, yeah, it won't apply.
Right. Unless it's standalone, adopted. Yeah.
So then hearing, no, hey, let's not move forward with this. We are very lucky that Alex has experience working with and writing ordinances, so we now have the opportunity to do forward at the same time. So we're gonna get this project moving, we'll get it taped up on the website and we'll get cracking.
You're here.
Please do your research and we'll be in contact and I'll forward to you.
And get started, I guess, let's get started with 2 pieces of data tonight.
Yeah, in general, I figure we'll have this similarly how we did the noise ordinance, where Alex will do a little bit more research. Find more ordinances that are relevant to this, put them up on the website, shoot them to everybody, make it public. And so that way you will have the opportunity to start doing more research, learn more about this, we can start crafting something. Get a full standalone, what I'm hearing is a full standalone, a potential update to the saldo and
Yeah.
maybe an inclusion into the zoning as well. So we're looking at basically one ordinance with 3 parts. But we'll talk more about that and we'll get this started.
Perfect. Would you like us to keep it on the agenda for next month? All right. All right, then I'll make a motion that as we've been discussing here, the lighting concerns. Agenda number 5B, that we table and put on the agenda for our March meeting. Seconded by Dave Strong. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor? Thank you. All right, any additional public, we have no one on page there, is there any additional public comments? Hey, Brett.
Hey, greetings. I stopped by the beer place, Gapy Drive in 209, and asked the manager to redirect his lights down.
Yeah,
And I'll go back and talk to him again. I think this is part of what we're
it's
discussing.
what we've been talking about.
See the same one that was a cigarette place?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I think it was there for, yes.
Yeah.
Cigarette place that's down across from Mosher's or.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is.
This is the beer, so it's the same guy?
Think so.
We're not sure, we think it might be,
All right. Well, I'll talk to him directly.
but it is terrible when you come back after dark. You get it.
All right. And he should cooperate rather than us have to go deal with him. But anyway, thank you. I'll let him.
Thanks.
Thanks. Anything else? All right, anything else for the order? All right, I make a motion that we adjourn.
So,
Seconded by everybody else. All in favor, was that?